Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Timi. So in today's video we are going to be talking about emotional intelligence, but before we go on, if you're not yet subscribed to my channel, consider subscribing. And if you eventually find any of this video helpful, please give me a thumbs up, share this video with your friends, and if you have any questions, let me know in the comment section and I'll do well to answer you. So today we are talking about emotional intelligence, but I've made a video to explain marriage as an institution and marriage as a union. So I'm going to be linking it in the description box below. After you watch this video, you can go ahead and watch this other one as well, or you watch this before you come back to this particular video. It gives you context on how to apply what I'm about to say in your own relationship. So let's get into it. At first, what is emotional intelligence? Emotional intelligence, simply put, is the adequate use of the relationship between you and your emotions. The ability to understand your emotions, ability to use your emotions, ability to manage your emotions, while also understanding the emotions of others and influencing those people's emotions. So simply put, emotional intelligence is your ability to use, to manage and to understand your emotions while also understanding the emotions of others and influencing their emotions as well. A few things that emotional intelligence can help you do. One, emotional intelligence can help you develop better relationships with people. So if you know how to manage your own emotions and also be understanding of other people's feelings, then you're able to have better relationships with people, because you speak with people, it helps you to speak with people with kindness and understanding. So if you understand the situation of a person, there's no need for you to be all riled up. And if you understand where they are coming from, most of the time the conflict that people have is not necessarily because those conflicts are some really serious things, but it's because when people don't get to understand where this person is coming from, it's easier for you to feel defensive, right? To feel attacked. And because you feel attacked, you feel the need to be defensive. The second thing emotional intelligence can help you do is to communicate better with people. It promotes quality communication, right? Because emotional intelligence is like, even if I don't understand how you feel, but I'm understanding of the fact that it's possible you are also frustrated. So when I'm talking to you, it makes people communicate with respect. So because if you're able to manage your emotions, it means you don't have an ego, because an ego is actually a bad emotion. It is an emotion, but it is an emotion that comes from superiority complex. So emotional intelligence will help you understand that, okay, I'm not better than this person and I'm not beneath this person. So when I'm talking to the person, I'm talking to the person with respect, just like the way I would like to be respected. And talking to people better makes them talk to you better in return. Most of the time it makes it easier for you to resolve conflict when you have a good communication skill, which maybe in another video we'll be talking about communication skills. For some reason, I feel like emotional intelligence influences your personal health. So if you're able to manage your emotions and understand other people's emotions while you influence other people's emotions, you don't have to be unnecessarily angry. You don't have to keep grievances. You talk to people better. So you're not shouting on top of your voice. So pretty much your stress levels would be balanced, right? Because lack of emotional management makes people to have very high cortisol levels, which are your stress hormones, and that is where it triggers a lot of autoimmune diseases, right? So especially when emotions are bottled up, it triggers cortisol levels. When emotions are bottled up, when emotions are riled up, it triggers cortisol. When they are bottled up, it triggers cortisol. So when people have emotional intelligence, they are able to communicate their emotions in a way that it enables the other person to suit the way they feel, right? So when men have a problem of ego, right? So they tend to be riled up most of the time, and that triggers stress hormones, but after a while that one is able to stabilize. But the one that causes women, on the other hand, is to bottle up those things. We have some really harmful marriage and relationship conversations where they tell women, don't talk to him about, like, you just have to be quiet for the sake of peace. So what that does is it promotes women bottling up bottling up how they feel, and they never get the chance to express how they actually feel. So that's bottled up anger and bottled up emotions. So it's their cortisol levels are like always high. For a man, he's able to express himself. The world allows him express himself. He can shout. In fact, some can beat up on their wives. So even when their cortisol levels goes up because of that anger, it is an immediate thing because they have a negative way of venting that anger. So when it comes down immediately, so it may not necessarily have as much risk to their health as that of the woman, where they promote women keeping quiet for the sake of peace. So with keeping quiet for the sake of peace, your emotions, your cortisol goes up and it remains up. You've not expressed yourself yet, so those things remain up, and that's how autoimmune diseases are triggered. Because when your stress hormone goes up and refuses to come down, it means your body is never in a state of rest. Even when you're sleeping, your body is not in the state of rest. So it's constantly on stress levels. So eventually you will break down, one autoimmune disease or the other. So a lot of women who are in abusive relationships tend to fall with this kind of ill health, because especially women in emotionally abusive relationships. I mean, any relationship that is physically abusive must be emotionally abusive, because it is from emotional abuse that physical abuse comes, and physical abuse tends to make a person feel less of themselves. So that's in itself emotional abuse, right? So that keeps a lot of women steady on stress hormones. A lot of women walk on eggshells around their husbands. They are not able to freely communicate because they don't know what to do that will hurt the man. It's like everything they do hurts the man. And what annoys me is these women go to all these people who claim to be marriage coaches, who will keep telling them, if you submit more, the man will love you. If you submit, which that is not a remedy for anything, right? Somebody who does not have emotional intelligence to begin with, and you're not trying to build the man's emotional intelligence and communication skills, but a lot of them have detachment issue. Like they are not even willing to build relationships. A lot of them marry women who they don't like or they don't love, so they cannot work with those women in love. So instead of enforcing those women to keep on, to reduce themselves more, it's better you take that person out of that space instead of encouraging a person to reduce themselves. So any advice that needs you to reduce and become small in order for another person to feel big is a dangerous idea. That is a very bad idea. It never works, because the smaller you get, the smaller the person feels, and he feels the need to shrink you the more so that he can become big. So no matter how submissive you are, it's not going to solve the problem. You can submit from today, tomorrow, all you care. Your relationship is still going to be troubled. You're not going to be at peace. You're always going to feel the need to be small in every single topic, in every single situation. You have to feel small so that the person can feel big, and that is really dangerous. Moving forward, emotional intelligence increases resilience. So it makes you calm in situations. Whenever you guys have issues, like let's say within families, I like to give examples and how people apply this in marriages. So within marriage, sometimes maybe you have financial issues, right? If both of you have emotional intelligence, you understand that even though the situation right now is alarming and is troubling, but you guys are not against each other, you guys are partners. So it will help you to stay calm, and when you're talking to the person, you understand that the person can be frustrated. Even when the person speaks in a manner that frustrates you, you understand that the person is also frustrated, so you can communicate your feelings with the person and let the person understand that you are here and you guys are partners and you're fighting each challenge that you have. This happens to couples also mostly when they have financial issues, or they have children who are sick, or something terrible is happening in the relationship, and it has nothing to do with both of them. Even for most of the time, it's not like the problem is within the both of them, it's an external problem. So but those external forces have a way of putting strain to relationships. So when they say, oh, fight for each other, now I'm not talking of a case of cheating, because something like cheating, something like abuse, you don't need to fight for that kind of a relationship to begin with, because it is not an external force, right? So when they say for better, for worse, that's what they mean. Not worse of somebody cheating on another person. That is not for better, for worse. That is a person inflicting you with actual pain and actual danger. So that's a different thing. Abuse is not part of for better, for worse. Neither is cheating a part of for better, for worse. Cheating is even also abuse, to be honest. So here are some key elements to emotional intelligence. Self-awareness is that you understand your emotions and you understand how they make you behave, and you understand how they make you think. So it's one thing to understand that you have an ego. An ego is an emotion. It's one thing you understand that you have an ego, and that ego, if you understand, if you're self-aware, you will understand that that ego has the capacity to make you think a certain way. So if you know that your ego influences your thoughts already, that means you're self-aware. So even when those thoughts come, you know how to push them at the back of your mind, your head, right? So let's give an instance right now that a woman and a man are having a conversation about sex in a relationship, for instance, and then the woman is like, oh, I'm not in the mood, or I'm too tired, right? An egocentric person would easily think, she's my partner, she owes me this thing, or she owes me that, or nobody owes you anything anyway. But let's say the thought of somebody with an ego can be like, how dare she reject me, she owes me sex, right? Now if you are self-aware, you understand that you have that problem, and by understanding that you have that problem, it helps you to manage your behavior better. So instead of working based on those thoughts that comes to you, you're able to manage and be like, okay, I understand that you're tired. Is there anything that I will do to help or make you feel better? That is somebody who understands that they are self-aware, and they understand that some of their thoughts can be destructive, it can be self-destructive. So they behave better when they are self-aware, right? For instance, I have this example that I usually share. I come from a tribe where people believe that we are arrogant. And when I began to learn emotional intelligence and I became self-aware, before now people will talk about it that your people are arrogant. Everybody that meets people from my place, they say they are arrogant. So before now I would be like, no, we are not arrogant, we are not rude, we are not arrogant, right? Until I started interfacing with my people also, and it gave me like a light bulb effect where I could see clearly how my own behavior would have been, right? So it made me self-aware to an extent, because I could see the arrogance, and living in denial of it would not have helped me. So I learned to understand that, okay, this thing is true. So I can self-regulate whenever I feel the need to be arrogant. So I learned self-regulation because of it. So I no longer deny it. I'm no longer defensive of it. And I'm now self-aware, so I'm able to regulate my emotions and my behavior. The next element of emotional intelligence is self-regulation. So like I touched on earlier, self-regulation is just managing your behavior, right? So when you are self-aware, you're able to manage your thoughts. When you are self-regulatory, you're able to manage your behavior. You're able to control impulsive feelings and impulsive decisions. And you know all those different, oh, you just start to be abusive, you verbally abuse people, or you throw punches you're able to manage and control those behaviors. So that's what self-regulation is. And emotional intelligence helps with so many other things. It is not just within relationships, right? So before you talk to your partner, this concept of being savage. There's a concept recently that people are like, oh, queen of savagery, and they think it's a flex. I think being savage is lack of self-regulation, and is lack of emotional intelligence. So sometimes I see this even online, and it happens within marriages and relationships as well. When somebody says something, you feel the need to be savage and matching energy. We are matching energy, we are going band for band. That is lack of self-regulation. So it happens in marriages as well. This person says this one, you feel attacked, so instantly you want to attack. You have men beating on their wives. That is lack of self-regulation. You have men storming off on their wives. I saw a preacher who was preaching, and he's like, men are wired in a certain way. I think it was Pastor Kingsley Okonkwo. He said something like, men are wired in a certain way that they are not able to manage certain emotions, so they don't do well within conflict. That is why it's okay, that's how men are wired. They move out. So if, like, you're having a conversation with them, they cannot manage conversations and they walk out. That is lack of emotional intelligence and lack of self-regulation. There is nothing. That thing only promotes illiteracy and promotes abuse. That is not a gospel that somebody should be telling you to do, or should tell you that it's a normal male behavior. It is not normal. Men are not wired that way. I understand that socialization, men can be socialized that way. But if a man who was poorly socialized has not learned how to behave properly, he has no business in marriage. So if a man walks out on you, there is nothing about it that is normal. That man lacks self-regulation, and it means that the person has the tendencies to be abusive. There's no reason why you should be in a relationship with a person like that. It is not normal. A lot of these things that they tell you guys that that's how men are wired, it's not a normal concept. It is not a biological thing. A lot of it is socialization, and it is because men are socialized to dominate other people, which is a bad thing to even begin with. So they feel the need to, that they feel like they are superior to you. So a lot of men struggle with emotional intelligence. Let me just say, men lacks emotional intelligence. So when we talk about self-awareness, they lack self-awareness. A lot of them are egocentric because they cannot look inwards. And then a lot of them lack self-regulation. That's why they feel the need to abuse people, like physical abuse, emotional abuse. It is lack of self-regulation. You cannot regulate your emotions. You cannot, I'm not saying don't have a conversation, but communicate your emotions. Don't take out your emotions on people. Communicate with people how you feel. But that's one thing that men don't do, especially this self-regulation counts them out. It's like, no. Walking out on a person while a conversation is ongoing, especially as a married couple, is abusive. That is lack of self-regulation. Now, moving forward is social awareness. We've talked about self-awareness. We've talked about self-regulation. Now we're talking about social awareness. Social awareness is picking up on emotional cues and understanding power dynamic. That is that's social awareness. Picking up on cues and understanding social dynamics. Now, let me tell you how that works within a family. When you have children, now this self-regulation also works on women and how they relate with their children also. But because I'm talking about a man-woman relationship, maybe someday when we're talking about parenting, right? Because it is that self-regulation that's where a lot of people feel comfortable abusing their children, especially when they have certain concepts within religion that allows them to abuse their children, or take out their lack of self-regulation on children and call it sparing the rod and spoiling a child. That is abuse and lack of self-regulation. All the time that I've seen parents beat their children, As much as they want to tell you they are doing that in love, it's a lie. They do that because they are angry and they are frustrated. They don't know how to manage their emotions, so they take it out on their children. So there is nothing about it that is sparing the rod and spoiling a child. If you have emotional intelligence, you will talk to people better, even children, and you will understand that children, that's what I'm talking about. Hierarchy within relationship does not make sense, because you have to understand that even though children, the only time there's, and I don't even think it is hierarchy, because you're not better than your children, but the only time where hierarchy can work within marriage is with parents and children. And it is not the kind of hierarchy that you think. You're just trying to manage them until they get to the age of understanding. That's why when children get to certain age, you as a parent do not have power over them anymore. They can make decisions for themselves. So parents tend to not think that children are autonomous beings, and of course they are. That's going to be a topic for another day. So understanding emotional cues is you can have conversation with somebody and you're able to see that the person is frustrated. You're able to see the person's frustration. The person is tired. From their expressions, you're able to see. Understanding strength and weaknesses, the place where you have strength and the place where a person has strength. This one is what I'm applying within relationships, but outside of relationship, I would say, for instance, a person is white and a black person is talking. A white person showing social awareness is understanding that that black person is a marginalized person. So they have to be careful with the things that they say to the person, or they have to speak with understanding of social dynamics, social power dynamics. And also within relationships that men believe that they are the head of the families or they are the leaders, it is lack of social awareness that makes you not get it when your wife walks on eggshells right before your presence, but you keep on oppressing her. Those are lack of social awareness, right? And this there's a lot we can say about this, but I think the video is getting too long, right? And I've not talked about the almighty one, or the most important element of social of emotional intelligence, important point, which is empathy. Empathy means understanding the emotions and the needs and concerns of other people. So empathy is where everything lies, right? If you lack empathy, all these other three that I've mentioned, you will find it difficult to even live within them. So empathy is something that should come from the inside. Like, you can empathize with people even when they are not in agreement with you. You're able to empathize with their realities. And for instance, a woman is pregnant. A man with empathy knows her body is going through a lot, and he's able to be as supportive as possible, even though it's like, I cannot take the pregnancy from you, but at least I can make it easier for you. I recently saw a post of Banky W and his wife, and he was talking about how supportive he is of a husband. And I mean, his wife came out to say that is actually true. So that is an example of somebody with empathy. They are able to support their partner better. And if you have empathy, you won't beat your wife. If you have empathy, when she's talking, you will understand her feelings and her emotions. You will know that her emotions are valid, her feelings are valid. If something happens to anybody around you or to her, you understand what she's going through. So we have people who their wives have lost maybe parents, and then because the man lacks empathy, he still expects her to be able to sleep with him, to still do domestic chores and do other things without empathizing with what she's going through at the time. So that is lack of so this empathy is where a lot of men miss it, and that is why I feel like most men are narcissistic, or all men are on the spectrum of narcissism. So they may not be full-blown narcissists, but they are on the spectrum. So they have the character traits because they lack emotional intelligence, and that happens due to male socialization. So that is going to be our next topic. We're going to be talking about male socialization and why it affects relationship, and why it looks like every man you're dating is problematic, and why if they are calling narcissistic traits, is like you have that person you love so much has one or two of those traits. So we are going to be explaining narcissism and why I believe that every man is on the spectrum of narcissism. So if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up, share this video with your friends, subscribe and hit the notification bell to get notified whenever I have a new video up on the channel. See you guys on my next video. Bye.